That's the first time, yeah.
Should we take her name tag down? All right. I wouldn't consider it of me. Just do whatever you want to do.
Hey, listen, it's your meeting, I just work here. Go ahead and sign this here. Oh, gotcha, okay. Thought something was going down at James' house tonight. I saw,
Yeah, what's the white car with the...
that's his loaner, because I thought, because it's funny, so I was on a walk, I saw that one, and I saw thank you. And then I saw one of our units up just a little ways just past his house. I'm like, what the hell's going on at James' house? So I texted him, like, is everything okay? Or, I mean, what's happening? I was texting Jen as well, because I wasn't sure, because that's normally her car. All right, are you ready, Amanda? Okay.
Jen.
Oh, sorry, Ortiz, Lieutenant. And did you tell me I need to record? And stand by. Clearly, it's my first day. Oh, there it is. Okay. Record on this computer or the cloud?
Recording in progress.
There we go. All right. Good evening, everybody. It is Monday. Or I'm sorry, it's Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. No, usually say Monday, but due to the holiday, we're having our meeting this evening. The time is now 7 p.m. If I could please ensure that your cell phones are muted and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Hogan, please take the roll. Oh, actually, before we take the roll, we're going to go ahead and start here. Yeah. Okay. It's my first day. Thank you. All right. Where's my paper right here? There we go. All right, Mr. Hall, we're going to start right here. All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out this evening. Very excited to welcome Terry Hall to our council. He was appointed at our last meeting. So we're going to go ahead and take the oath of office now, and then we'll start our business. Are you excited?
Sort of.
Okay. All right, go ahead and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Terry L. Hall,
I, Terry L. Hall,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I am a citizen of the United States,
that I am a citizen of the United States,
and I am legally qualified to assume the office
and I am legally qualified to assume the office
of City Council Position Number 6,
of City Council Position Number 6,
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States,
and the laws of the United States,
the state of Washington,
the state of Washington,
and the city of Woodland,
and the city of Woodland,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties of this office
discharge the duties of this office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. It means you're a member of the club now.
All right.
Oh, geez. Everybody look out. Oh, yeah, yes. Hey, Terry, come on. Come on back. Let me take my glasses.
Be pretty.
Yeah, hold on. Don't make me look fat now. Okay. Oh, hold on, Pete. Hold on. Let me just fix myself. There we go. All right, up here. Oh, there we go. Okay, now, wait, sorry. Now pivot towards Mrs. Butler. Mrs. Butler? I said, come on. No? Okay, all right. Sounds good.
Should we get Mr. Hall with his family?
Absolutely. Did you bring folks with you tonight? Oh, Mrs. Hall. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Come on up and get a picture with your husband here. It's a family affair. It takes the whole family. Are you sure? Okay. All right. No.
Kind of disappointed I didn't get that many pictures.
Well, we like Mr. Hull.
Nobody wanted
We
to-
don't know him that well yet. All right, Ms. Hogan, please take the roll.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Holland,
Present.
Councilmember Burke,
Present.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Here.
Councilmember Hall,
Here.
and Councilmember Rounds.
Mrs. Rounds has called out this evening. I ask that she be excused.
Motion to excuse Councilmember Rounds.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, second by Councilmember Dowdy. Ms. Hogan, please take the roll.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall.
Aye.
All right, Mrs. Rounds has been excused. I'm excited this evening to bring forward the American Red Cross proclamation for March of 2023. Whereas in times of crisis, people in the city of Woodland come together to care for one another. This humanitarian spirit is part of the foundation of our community and is exemplified by the American Red Cross Cascades Region volunteers and donors. And whereas in 1881, Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross, turning her steadfast dedication for helping others into a bold mission of preventing and alleviating people's suffering. Today, more than 140 years later, we honor the kindness and generosity of the Red Cross volunteers here in the city of Woodland, who continue to carry out Clara's life-saving legacy. They join the millions of people across the United States who volunteer, give blood, donate financially, or learn vital life preserving, I don't know what just happened right there, through the Red Cross, and whereas in the Cascades region serving Southwest Washington and Oregon, I'm sorry, I have to stop for a second. I don't know what my problem is tonight. I really don't. I'm a little off my game. I don't know if it's Tuesday or if it's because, I don't know. The contributions of more than 2,500 local Red Cross volunteers give hope to the most vulnerable in their darkest hours. The Red Cross does so by providing more than 600 emergency overnight shelter stays, along with food and comfort for families devastated by nearly 800 local disasters like home fires. Through the generosity of those donated, more than 182,000 units of essential blood for accident and burn victims, heart surgery, and organ transplant patients, and those receiving treatment for leukemia, cancer, or sickle cell disease, or by supporting service members and veterans an average of 9 times a day, along with their families and caregivers through the unique challenges of military life, and by helping to save the lives of others with first aid, CPR, and other skills, or delivering international humanitarian aid. And whereas their work to prevent and alleviate human suffering is vital to strengthening our community's resilience, we dedicate the month of March to all those who continue to advance the noble legacy of American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, who lived by her words, "You must never think of anything except the need and how to meet it." We ask others to join in this commitment to give back in our community. Now, therefore, I, William A. Finn, Mayor of the City of Woodland, do hereby proclaim March of 2023 as Red Cross Month. I encourage all citizens of Woodland to reach out and support its humanitarian mission. And with that, I will say that the Red Cross has helped out a number of families within the City of Woodland, especially over the last few years through some apartment fires and home fires that we've had. So, very important organization, and we need them desperately. So, please reach out and give if you can. And with that, we will move on to citizen communication for items not on the agenda. And Ms. Esperanza? Espinoza. I'll give you 5 minutes here. You step forward.
So I have a letter that I was going to read.
Okay.
I'm going to be emailing it tonight, so I just wanted it on the record.
Okay.
I have been a resident of Woodland, Washington since April of 2018. After review of the notice of application submitted by Aiden Willis, I have decided to write this letter of concern regarding that application for 1776 North Gorig Street. High-density residential, 30 units. I have several concerns I would like to bring to your attention, not only as a resident, but as a property owner that lives directly across at 1775. My concerns are as follows. This is a main passage point for the police department and the fire department. Have you considered where the overflow cars will park? There are 30 units and only 45 parking spaces. Is the street going to be designed to accommodate street parking? The street is currently not designed to accommodate street parking. I don't like the idea of having a lot of cars parked in front of my house or on my property, and different people coming and going during the day and night. Are there going to be income requirements to live in these apartments? Are background checks going to be a part of the application process? Prior to placing a purchase offer on my home in 2018, I did a 5-mile radius search for my home address, and there were and are currently 3 registered sex offenders. It is important for the city to keep our children and residents safe. Everyone on the council, Public Works, and the mayor know that we are not set up to accommodate more traffic with the current infrastructure. There is the RV park and additional apartments being built north of 1776. How is the city prepared to deal with the increased amount of traffic? Have you taken into consideration the landscape design that will be added to the sidewalk on North Gorig? I currently cut the lawn on that part of the property. The city doesn't pay me for doing so, or does it pay for the yard debris that I toss from that area? Are you going to allow trees to be planted? If so, what kind of trees? I don't need or want more yard debris on my property. There are several reasons why high-density buildings are not a good idea for our community. I would like to point out some of the most important ones: overcrowding in schools, noisy, lack of privacy, increased traffic, increased crime, negative effect on the airflow. I hope that those involved think and consider potential consequences and not simply approve and sign applications. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who failed to sign up at the beginning of the meeting for items not under the agenda? Now is your opportunity to step forward. Mrs. Butler? I apologize for calling you out. I shouldn't have used your name. I apologize.
No problem. That's good.
Mickey Mouse.
There you go.
All right.
Minnie. No.
Minnie Mouse.
Yes, in light of the letter that you just read, I would just like to say that I have heard the same concerns from other citizens. When I've mentioned to them, are you aware of this apartment complex where it's going in? And they've had the very same questions and concerns. So I'm just saying she's not alone in her letter. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we have one citizen online so far. Mrs. Ritt.
Good evening.
There we go. All right, we can hear you.
I have 3 items I'd like to address tonight. First of all, I am speaking on behalf of the Hulda Klager Lilac Gardens, and we submitted a banner application late 2022, and then I was told to resubmit it, and I did that in I think the end of January. In the application, it asked for a fee, and I asked that the Lilac Gardens be given a fee waiver, and then I was told that it had to go to council and it would be on tonight's agenda. So because the Lilac Gardens is a nonprofit organization and we run a very tight budget, we're asking, even though it's a small amount, that the city go ahead and waive that $25 fee waiver plus any processing fees if we paid it online or with a check. I know there have been other instances in the past where fee waivers have been given to nonprofits on various types of fees, so we're just asking for that waiver. And then I guess I just need to know when I would get a response to that so we could respond accordingly.
Well, I will tell you.
My second issue. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll address when you're done.
Okay. My second issue was I've reached out to the city and Minol several times on behalf of the Lilac Gardens and our irrigation meter. We did receive our check, and thank you for that refund on that irrigation leak charge. The question, excuse me, that I did ask was we're continuing to get water and sewer-based charges, sewer-based charges, water-based charges on the utility account number 0861. And in the past, the Lilac Gardens and I know several other utility customers have never been charged a base rate. And so we had asked to have credits issued on those into that meter bill to stop getting billed, especially since it's been in the off position since about November. And I did not get any response from Minol or the city on that. So we're wondering when we can get a reply on that. My third issue is what I brought up at the last council meeting was for under my son Kevin Rip, 630 Embassy Loop. And his account number is 3749. And I've been in correspondence, or we've been in correspondence with Minol in the city since early October of 2022. Two issues. He's getting charged for a commercial recycled 90-gallon can. And number one, he's residential. And I've asked through online, through letters, through emails, through phone calls, and it's still getting charged commercial recycle. And I took pictures of his can. He's got a 60-gallon residential can. He's a single person in his house, so he doesn't even fill that up every week. And he's getting overcharged for that. The other issue that I brought up was the sewer inside charges. He's getting charged based on the consumption of the previous tenants. And that's been going on again since at least March of 2022. So I actually went and did a spreadsheet. I sent that to everybody. And again, we have had no response from Minol or the city. And again, going clear back to October, which is well over 5 months. And it'd be nice if he could get the credit issued and get the billing changed to the correct billing and then proceed forward. He has been proactive. He paid a bill over $700, anticipating that he would be issued some credits and still has not been. So we're wondering when that could be resolved.
Okay. Thank you. We'll start at the top here. Hold Clear Lilac Garden application fee. So I've got a number of notes that's been given to council this evening. I know you said that it's actually an application fee, not a usage fee. And that is something that all nonprofits are required to. Did you not get one, Mr. Berg? Okay. That we are requiring that all nonprofits pay. We've waived the fee, but not the application fee to include that for the fire department during Planters Days, if anyone recalls the conversations we had openly here in council. All the fees were waived. I believe it was Ms. Coleman. I'm going to get the number wrong. $200 for the firemen. That one was waived, but they still had to pay the application fee. Ultimately, it's up to council. It's your decision. We don't make those decisions. We're just basing it off our standard operating practice. So, as far as the $25 application fee, my understanding is it still needs to be paid unless somebody up here in council changes that for us. Moving on to the check received, you're welcome. I'm glad we were able to resolve that. However, we're still verifying that the resolution, my understanding is that it is somewhat mute on irrigation, continued irrigation charges on a monthly basis. That one we're still looking at, but I believe that it should not be charged at this time, but we're still verifying that along with other accounts that have those irrigation meters. So more to come on that. As far as your son's account.
Can I add?
Yep, go ahead.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
So the meter is off at the Lilac Gardens. We're continuing to accrue charges now. It also ate up some of the credit that we were issued on the check. And so I just need to know, do we have to continue paying those base charges? Or, I mean, the thing's already off, but I don't want to
Right.
get any late fees or anything like that.
Late fees aren't being charged at this time as we make our transition to Minol. I know we're 6 months in. But my understanding is we're still not. Go ahead.
Should we hold off
If it's
on
just-
making payment on those base charges?
If it's
So
just
that's all that's on there.
If it's just the irrigation fee, then yes, I would hold off on that, because I believe that
Okay.
will end up being a credit as well. So don't send in any money at this time, and there won't be
Okay.
any late fees for that one. As far as Mr. Rip's garbage cans, Ms. Coleman, I did not bring my notes from our meeting because we did discuss that last week, and I don't know that I can answer that accurately. We will get back to you on number 3 there, but we did visit with that early last week or after the last meeting actually.
And we had to verify with the garbage company.
Can you turn your microphone on, please?
We had to verify with the garbage and waste management company, and we had to verify with Minol, and we had to have photos.
I can't hear.
I'll do a summary here in just a moment.
And so, we
All
just
right.
received all that information back, and so we're putting that all together, and Kathy will have that available.
Okay.
But we have been in communication.
We have been in communication with the, is it Waste Connections, is that correct? Or Waste Control, and with Minol, and doing some back research, and they're waiting on information coming back from that. But we should have an answer by the end of this week.
Could they at least correct the billing so it's not getting charged incorrectly?
Well, you had two issues there. One was the garbage, and one was the sewer inside charges, and we'll look into that as well. I missed that.
Not the not the garbage, the recycling.
Oh, the recycling, sorry.
Yes, they corrected the garbage. They never corrected the recycling.
Okay. And I'll check on those sewer. I don't recall anything about the sewer inside rate during your comment period during the last regular meeting, but I'll look as well.
Okay.
Okay? So we should be in touch by the end of the week
Um,
on Mr. Rick's bill.
Thank you.
You bet. Anyone else online for items not on the agenda? Seeing none, moving on to citizen communications for items on the agenda. I have no one signed up. Is there anyone in the gallery that failed to do so? Now's your opportunity. Seeing none, is there anyone online for items on the agenda this evening? Seeing none. Moving on to the agenda itself.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Burke, seconded by Councilmember Dowdy. Mrs. Hogan.
Councilmember Hall,
Yes, aye.
It's okay, it's your first day, it's mine too. It's fine, it's fine. You're doing great, doing great.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to reports of standing committees. Both committee meetings were canceled this evening. The next Human Resource meeting will be on on March 20th at 5:30, and Finance will be on March 20th at 5:30 as well. And Mr. Hall will be taking over
I think we've actually changed that to 6 o'clock, correct?
on which one?
You're right, that's a typo.
And I think for
So it should
both
be
of
6
those-
p.m.
Oh, both, we're going to 6 now?
Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Hall, you'll be taking over former Councilmember Rowland's position, and I believe that she was on...
Human Resources.
Human
HR
resources.
and public safety.
Yes. So you will have a committee meeting at 6 p.m. for Human Resources, all right? Moving on to reports of City Council.
I guess.
Mrs. Holland.
Okay, so, some of us trekked up to Olympia last week, during city action days to speak with local legislators and take some, what would those be? Seminars? Is that what they are?
Breakout
Workshops?
sessions?
Breakout sessions would be-
Yeah, yeah. Learning opportunities.
Yeah.
There we go. So we learned a lot about what other cities around the state are having challenges with: infrastructure, utilities, housing. And then we learned about what legislators are currently working on. So a lot of interesting stuff. It was a good time, I thought. We came back with a lot of information. I think we came back, a lot of us connected with other council members from other towns, like Longview. That's a good one, to actually get to talk to somebody from a neighboring town to learn about the things that they're doing. And anyway, so that's what we did last week, and I thought it was kind of fun, and people should know that that's what we were doing, I guess.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, same thing. I attended the City Action Days in Olympia, and it was the first one I've had the opportunity to go to, and it was a really good experience. The housing bill that we just voted down, or an ordinance, we went to a housing seminar breakout session, and they had a really good discussion on that. And it was very eye-opening about what is to come for the state of Washington. I can't remember the numbers exactly. It was a 20-year prospect of having 1 million more residents in Washington state, and the impact of housing that is needed I think that the housing ordinance that we voted down, I think we need to figure out something that would work better for Woodland. I don't think that was the right approach, but I do think we need to look into it more than we did, because the housing crunch that's coming in Washington is severe, and it's not just Washington, it's the entire country. We did meet, I did go to another breakout session about infrastructure. The similar sized cities, they got up and spoke about the same issues that Woodland is having about aging infrastructure, the costs that they're experiencing to their residents. The city of Woodland is not alone in this pain. It's being felt across the board for every community in Woodland, or every community in Washington. Same thing, we've met with legislators, and it was a really good experience. And hopefully I have another experience in the future. Thank you.
Mrs. Dowdy.
I want to kind of just piggyback on all that, because it was also my first experience, and it was very eye-opening, I think. I wish some of you could attend too, because I think it would open up your eyes to not just think that what we're doing up here is not working for our citizens, because we really are trying to keep what's best for our community. But across the board in Washington, everyone's feeling it. And we're all trying to work for our citizens the best way we know how, and to be budget conscientious. But sometimes that is hard to everybody's pocketbooks. And I think sometimes even the hard decisions might have to be the best ones, that you just have to bite the bullet sometimes, knowing that down the road, if we don't do it, it can hurt even more. And some of the things that some of these other smaller towns than ours are experiencing are a lot more painful than what we're experiencing right now. And I think it was very eye-opening to see some of the things that could happen if we don't do them now and we push it down the road. So I think that was very eye-opening to me.
There was one community, I can't remember exactly where it was, but there's a community of 500 people that are getting hit with a $9 million bill. And they don't have any grants to help fund it yet. So
$100 a month?
a month per resident. And
In addition to what they're already paying.
in addition to what they're already paying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was soul-sucking to hear that for them.
Anything else? Seeing nothing, thank you. Mrs. Miller, I see you brought somebody with you this evening to judge your performance.
El Presidente?
Yes. No pressure.
No pressure at all. No. Let's see here. Welcome, Councilmember Hall. You've been on my call recently, so I've not heard you speak. I haven't heard you speak up. Usually, it's your lovely Mrs. Where'd she go? Right there. But I have noticed that your name has been popping up as well. So it's gonna be short and sweet this evening. Not too much crazy stuff going on, as it usually is in February. So visitor numbers continue to be down. We are hoping that once Lakeshore is back open, people will start flowing in again. You wouldn't believe the people who decided to do a U-turn there, even though it's only one lane. There's a huge parking lot. The semi-trucks can turn around, but no, they're going to make a U-turn on Lakeshore. Bless their hearts. I also have an interviewee that I will be offering a job to later this week. So we will hopefully be opening again on Tuesdays and Wednesdays after this person, if they accept the position, gets trained up. Because just in case anyone hasn't heard yet, we are still closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So chamber work can still occur, and I'm not in the four walls of the visitor center 5 days a week. So that's about all I got for Visitor Center. Told you it was going to be short and sweet. So Chamber, we appointed a new board member today. It was Keith Belisle. We are really excited to have him join our team. Our previous board member, Chris Van Dintner, stepped down, and so we filled his position. Or by we, I mean the board did. Our yearly award winners, since I haven't seen all your faces since the banquet, hopefully everyone has recovered from their smoke inhalation. Business of the Year was Columbia Bank. I'll explain that in a second. So Business of the Year is Columbia Bank. Employee of the Year was Midori Hannes from Laluska Foundation. Citizen of the Year was Donnie Vircher from Daddy D's. So for those of you who are not unfortunately able to make it to the banquet, we had a little smoke out
Mishap.
mishap with the fireplace. It made it exciting. I have not heard anyone speak of a banquet so frequent right after it as this one because of it. Yep, it was an experience. Reminder: our weekly meetings are on Tuesday at noon at the Oak Tree, and our legislative calls are also on Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. via Zoom. Again, we just ask everyone to mute themselves so we don't hear you stirring your coffee. And then we have 2 after hours that are confirmed, but we are still at the planning phases of exactly pinning down a date that works best for them as well as us, and it's going to be Lineage and Scott Hill Park. And so Lineage will be in April and Scott Hill Park will be in May.
Nice.
When? April. They are, which makes sense. And of course, the princesses will be there as well.
All right. Questions for Mrs. Miller this evening?
No? Oh, nice.
Well, I see you brought the boss on an easy night. This was a scam.
Yeah, I think so.
Normally, there's a long list and there's propaganda that is distributed against council. Thank you for the report. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Those are very informative. Appreciate it.
All right. Moving on. Mr. Boyce, I'm going to let you go first before me tonight.
Okay. Jump in then.
I'm going to go long-winded.
So I wanted to just touch on the next council vacancy. Councilmember Burke noted, and it was in the staff note for the last interviews, that we should have had a 2-minute introduction from the applicants and a 2-minute closing. So we should, it's in the council rules. It was part of the staff note in there. So we need to make sure that happens.
I'll take the hit for that one. That was my fault because I jumped right into it.
Also, I wanted to clarify, does City Council want all applicants to reapply? We've already had 2 that have reapplied that were in the last batch.
And one has verbally.
One has verbally asked that his old application be moved forward. And then we had that one application come in between. So I'm just looking for the preference of City Council. Do you want everyone to reapply, or?
I believe they should. If they want to reapply, yes.
I think if they acknowledge that they want to apply for this one, their application should be able to roll over. If they don't want to edit anything to it. I don't know. That's just my opinion, though.
And that gives us 4, right?
I believe now we have 5 people who are interested. So I guess I'm not hearing consensus yet. So without that, we'll continue on as before, where we allowed the applications to roll over. Also, since we have 5 interested applicants, we probably should look for a special meeting to do the interviews, because they do take a little bit of time. So the closing date for applications is March 3rd at 5 p.m. So I'm thinking the next special meeting could take place on Monday, March 13th at 7 p.m. if council is so inclined.
Already showed that on the schedule.
Okay.
We're looking ahead. But if City Council is okay with March 13th, we'll pencil it in for that date.
I'm seeing head nodding, so that works for 7 p.m.
Okay. And I'll leave my report at that. If anyone has questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
All right. I guess I'll go because I do have quite a bit this evening. So, yes, I was up in Olympia. Mr. Boyce and I attended with the 3 council members here, and there was a lot of conversation surrounding housing and climate impacts and changes, and also police, of course, is always a hot topic, especially over the last few years, to include pursuits. So it was interesting to hear the take on some of those folks and their thought process. I found it very interesting that the governor would suggest that we need more officers on the road when in 2021 he let go 100 of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there as my little sting, since I wanted to stand up in the room and let him know that. Not to mention the fact I believe we lost 500, Chief. I'm looking to you. Is it 500 or 600 officers statewide that have left the business and went to another state? Yes. So changes in leadership or decisions at the leadership level impact a number of agencies and organizations across the state. So remind that when you hit the polls. Had a survey meeting with the CEDC yesterday to update our I want to call it the strategic plan, I guess. We did a SWOT analysis from 2017 to update that. And that, again, had to do, I found it interesting that we just came from Olympia to talk about housing, to talk about industrial property availability, commercial property availability. And as we were going through there, some things have changed for us in a positive way. And I think that we've had more property come online for commercial and industrial, which is great. We've been able to partner with the county and get a water line under the railroad tracks off of Davidson to assist with the 426 acres of industrial property that we have available. So it was nice to see that we are slowly moving along, and we're doing what we can to help out the community and drive ourselves forward, considering that we are a retail-based community for sales tax, and that's our driving factor. I've got a few notes here for also, so some of the things that were concerning to me up at the ledge as well was the 3% property tax increase that they're trying to pass right now. And the citizens should be aware of that. So basically what's happening is they are trying to make it available for municipalities to increase from a 1% annual increase on property tax every year, councilmatically, to a 3% increase, councilmatically, without an ask of the people. Your council, for those of you that are here and those that are listening online, your council this year voted not to increase it by the 1%. And I don't think that this would be good legislation for anyone. To move this forward. So please, if you're available, please call your legislators and let them know how you feel, one way or the other. I'm not telling you how to do it, but if you think it's a good idea that council's able to raise your property taxes by 3% every year, then by all means go ahead and call them. But if you're not, go ahead and let them know that as well. Especially for a community of our size and some of the demographics that we have within our community, I don't think it's good that we have the ability to. You have a good council right now. They're obviously not putting the impact out onto the citizens through property tax increase. But that could change. That could change every couple of years. And having that at your fingertips, I don't think is a good place to be. But that's my opinion. Let's talk about climate. Let's talk about all the controls that the state's trying to put on everybody right now. But I also want to go back to our regular meeting that I missed at the last one. And I want to make it very clear that I'm not upset with council. I know that sometimes I get very passionate about how things are going. Mr. Hall, I apologize because you're getting grouped in now. You're up here. You're one of us. I know I get very passionate, and the team had spent 3 years and $65,000 in taxpayer dollars on a housing action plan. Regardless if you liked it or not, if you wanted to pass it, I know we did have, I'm looking to Mrs. Butler. I know that she spoke against it and said that it wasn't a good product. I will call it a product. But it was also a lot of time spent by my office to bring this forward, because 3 years ago, council said, yes, that is the direction we want you to take. We want you to look into this program, and we want you to bring something back to us. You voted it down. You said, no, I don't want it. And I think that's great. However, I'm frustrated because saying no doesn't help us out. Saying no doesn't help. We need direction at my office. We can't do anything without your direction. We can't spend $1 without your direction. So I was frustrated with the fact that it was just a blanket no with no, send it back to the Planning Commission or bring it back to us in 2 months. This is what we're expecting from you. We need to hear your voices. We can't phone in being a council member anymore. We are driving forward, we are growing, and we need your direction on how to drive our community forward. If it wasn't a good product, tell us it wasn't a good product and tell us how we can fix it. But 3 years of wasted time and money is frustrating to me because we could have been working on something else. So I'm not mad. I was accused of being very mad. I was also called a petulant little child by some folks in our community. But I'm not mad. I was just frustrated. And so I apologize if it came across that way. But we, my office, my team of experts over here, our subject matter experts, need direction from you So if it's not going the way that you need it, we need you to vocalize what you need us to do. With that said, I'm going to move off of housing, and I'm going to continue that conversation because here in the near future, Mr. Goddard, the City of Woodland has been and he's online with us this evening, has been I don't want to call it a test case, Mr. Goddard, what would you say for the climate action plan?
A pilot group?
Thank you. A pilot group. We are a pilot. As you know, and Mrs. Butler, you have stood up and said, what are we doing here? We're trying to get on the forefront so we're not told by the state what we have to do. And Mr. Goddard and I had a great conversation this afternoon on what does this look like and what does it mean. Again, this is another product that we're going to be bringing forward to you. And if it's not something you like or you want changes, we need to hear that. Because at some point the state is going to put their hand on us and say, no, you have to accept it. This is Woodland's opportunity to get in front of it and say, this is what we want. We've already taken care of them, check the boxes, leave us alone. And I look at that with the Housing Action Plan as well. So understand that there are some other things that we're going to be asking of you, but a blanket yes and a blanket yes says we're doing our job and it's exactly what you want, and a blanket no gives us absolutely no direction. So if it's a no, I understand, but if it's a product that we need to drive us forward to gather grants, and it's a box that we need to check, we need to keep working on it and bring it back forward. So I'm not bringing it back forward unless asked. That's not, you said no, and I understand that. So I'm going to move on from that. But I think the next step that council needs to do is a work session with the Planning Commission before we have a council retreat. So I'm asking if you want to do that at a 6 p.m. meeting and spend an hour a couple times with the Planning Commission, or do it on a Saturday, because the Planning Commission is your advisory board. They're the ones that are coming to you and giving you, they've done all the hard work, and they've dove into all the Travis Goddard language, and they enjoy it, and they're working for Woodland, and they're advising you. So I think it's important that this body get with that group so you can give them some direction on what exactly you're looking for, and you can have that collaborative conversation. So,
I think
go ahead.
that would be a really good idea, because I think oftentimes planning goes through many, many, many meetings discussing things, making a recommendation, they've fleshed it all out, and then they get their recommendation makes it to our agenda. Very little conversation happens, and they've spent hours and hours on something, and we vote no. Just depends. I mean, I watch their meetings sometimes. They don't get a lot of citizen interaction. People don't show up to their meetings like they do here.
They did the last meeting, from my understanding.
That's it.
Is your mic on?
It's just pointed the wrong direction,
There you go.
sorry.
Okay.
Usually I try to eat the
There you
mic
go.
so Joe doesn't tell me he can't hear. But I think we are partners in the regard that they are one piece, we are another piece, and we never meet. So I think your idea would be a really good one. Maybe not like a whole Saturday, but maybe a couple smaller batches,
Okay.
if that works for
Okay.
them.
Mr. Smith?
I think Councilmember Holland brought it up at the last meeting that an hour of workshop was not enough time for that issue. So I agree 100%. We need more than an hour.
Okay. Then I will get some dates together with Planning Commission and Mr. Burke. Do you have some
My
thoughts?
concern was they're not meeting enough, that they missed 3 months in a row.
Well, we had a hard
Are
time
we-
getting a quorum, of my
Well, I mean-
understanding. So, Mrs. Dowdy?
And I also feel like after us attending this last week, I feel like we walked away with some new information and some new ideas that we can also go to the Planning Commission with some ideas of our own now, and not a hard no, maybe some ideas that we can bring forth and say, well, maybe we could do it this way. And I think that has helped us kind of formulate some things to bring back too. So I think it kind of helped us.
Okay, Mr. Smith?
And I think the state is looking at 3 different housing bills, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So we either do something or they force it down our throat again.
And that literally is, that is a fact, and it is not, these bills are not based upon the letter at the end of the person's name. So, I had an amazing conversation with Senator Wilson, who is from the next district over, in regards to his Senate bill, on ADUs and tiny homes. And so it is not, there's a human aspect of it, of housing people, regardless of what your political affiliation is. And, I think people have kind of a preconceived idea on that, what housing means. Every time we talk about housing, we get the people who think affordable means low-income subsidized housing. Like, and it literally isn't. And I listened to the governor, I listened to an entire room of legislators talking about different things that they're doing in their communities that have zero to do with low-income subsidized housing, but they're trying to create housing options. And what folks don't get is that legislators who hand out money, who are on parts of, who will help us get funding for things, they like to see certain things. We sat in a room with the governor and his aides and his staff members, pretty much saying, this is what they want to see if you want to get funding. So it's not like we make this stuff up. It's literally coming down from the top. But anyway, sorry I hijacked you.
No,
Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Shut me up.
I just think that without getting into a housing conversation, I'm just letting you know that there are more documents and more policies and direction we'll be asking for other things that will be forced down our throat, and we have an opportunity to get in front of this and make it Woodland's way. Yes.
Yeah,
Mr.
I
Hall.
think one thing that, of course, I was not on the council at the time that decision was made, but I think it was an elephant that we were trying to eat all in one meal. I think that process needed to be divided up a little bit so that people could just absorb it and get through it. I think that's what we should do going forward, is maybe take it in pieces that we can digest.
Good to know. I like that. Thank you. Absolutely. Okay. Well, with that, I'm hearing no objection to a Saturday as long as it's not at 9 a.m. and it doesn't go until 5. Only because Mrs. Holland and I don't like an early start to a day. Is that, Joy, am I seeing some consensus with that? Okay. I will get some dates together. The other thing in regards to communication, I spoke with Mr. Goddard today, and we have a beautiful new website. We don't have all the seats full in here, but we do have some citizens that are showing up and providing some thoughts. We will be putting an option on the website and developing a way for citizens that are unable to come to council to provide comments on what's coming up or issues that they may have, and provide that to council as well. So we're trying to reach out. We're trying to get as much input as possible, so council can make the best and brightest decisions for us as we move forward, with everyone in mind. And with that, I will turn your attention to action item D, which I'm very excited about. Ms. Coleman has another grant to accept, and it is for Woodland Program. Again, this is another one of those cost-saving things. The city of Woodland has to pay a light bill every month, and I signed the check, and it's in the thousands, close to $30,000. And that's for streetlights that we have and we have to maintain. Ms. Coleman has done a wonderful job going out. And will this satisfy all? I'll let you speak to it. I'll let you take this one.
All I wanted to say is that when I came here in 2017, that was the main thing that I did. Is I went out and inventoried the street lights, and I wanted to upgrade them from HPS to LED because of the cost savings for your wattage. This last round, so starting in 2017, I just started plugging away at it each year, and until this last year, we had 150 that were left within the city that hadn't been changed out. And I applied for a grant, and we received the funds to change all the remaining lights out. which just this round, which I think is 143, I said 150, but it's 143, will save us about $2,000 a month in utility bills, just for that round, not to mention what what we have been saving. And then also I applied for a grant for Cowlitz PUD for their lights, because we pay for their lights as well that are on their poles. We own them, but we can't maintain them because they're on utility poles. I applied for that and I received a grant to change out all of their lights as well. So we'll have all of their lights changed to LED as well, which will also give cost savings. That's a flat rate to us, and it'll go down from the HPS flat rate to an LED flat rate.
So, thank you. And that's the entire city now.
The entire city will be done, and I'll be reaching out to the paper to let them know it's done so we can get some recognition in
Good.
the paper. Yes.
And that I would say is probably one of those boxes we need to check for the governor's office at some point, which we've already done. And we're saving money, so thank you for doing that.
Energy efficiency.
Energy efficiency, absolutely. Thank you for doing that. It's little things like that. It may not sound like a lot when you say $2,000, but over the course of 12 months, that's just these lights. So that doesn't include the other lights that we've already changed out. So it's one less thing that we have to come up with money for, because we've reduced that cost of operations.
Well, and not just that, you mentioned it, operations. So those lights have an expectancy of, they're supposed to have an expectancy of 20 years when you put in the new LED lights. It's hit or miss, depending on what run goes through the factory at that time. Sometimes you get purple lights out there, but anyway.
Can you address that real quick too,
Yeah.
since you brought that up?
Thank you. I was going to ask that
I
of you.
So
I was
those-
gonna get to it.
Those are not our lights. Those are washed out lights, and they're a Cree light, and there was a bad batch run. So, I mean, it happens in all manufacturing. So Washed Out is aware of it. We made them aware of it, and they're going to come out and they're going to change it out. We're on their list, but it's all around the state. There are purple lights everywhere, so it's just a bad batch run. So anyway, they're going to be changed out, but those are going to be changed as well. WashDOT is going to be changing they've changed most of their LED lights out anyway, so, and we had that done, I think, 2 years ago with WashDOT. We helped pay for part of that for them to change those out, so.
Park and Ride has some purple also. That's not ours either, right?
That's WashDOT,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the ones I'm talking about
I just want to
as
make,
well.
we have no purple lights in our
We have no
We have no
supply of
purple
lights that
Yeah.
need to
No,
be
we
fixed.
had some
Yeah.
and we've changed them out.
'Kay.
Yeah, we received part of that batch as well, so.
Next security camp footage real fun at night.
It's not, we didn't have purple lights. I know there's some big rumor out there, that we have purple lights put in to stop intravenous drug users in the city. That's not the case. It's just a bad light, and they will eventually look normal. So.
What if it works?
But if it does work, I mean, yes, hopefully they're getting some help.
They would just strobe the purple lights.
Yes.
Then it would be then we could have a rain.
So I encourage council as a yes on action item D. And reference to action item C, the adoption of the Cowlitz County Hazard Mitigation Plan. That is another check the box exercise this evening. That came from Cowlitz County Department of Emergency Management, and what that does is it allows our community, in case of a natural disaster, or in case of a disaster, I should not a natural disaster, but a disaster, to take advantage of federal government dollars through FEMA. Without this, we're left on our own. So just be aware of that. And with that, moving on to consent items.
Move to approve the consent item.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Burke.
Point of information.
Yes, go ahead.
Do we have to approve all the items under consent at one time, or can we take those?
We normally
A, B,
do,
and C?
unless you'd like to pull one.
Well, I do have,
Okay.
I have a concern about B,
Okay,
as in boy.
gotcha. All right. So consent item A by Councilmember Burke and seconded by Councilmember Smith. Okay. Ms. Hogan, will you please take the roll on consent item A only?
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
All right, moving on to consent item B, the clerk treasurer vouchers, 2023.02.15.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, just information. The first is item 60198. Is that a one-time charge, and what exactly, it's labeled armory.
I don't have the list in front, I don't have the pay list. Oh, here we go.
It's about a $20,000 item.
I think it's replacement. Weaponry.
Council approved a weapon change out. Let's see if I can find this here.
We surplused.
We surplused some guns at our police department, and the new ones, have the new ones been purchased yet?
We've gotten a few of them, Your Honor.
Okay. Can you, let's see here, I'm trying to find the light on him here.
It's on the screen too.
Oh, you want to, where's my glasses? And what exactly does it say?
It's like purchasing 12 suppressors, 12 guns, 24 magazines, and 12
Those would
streamlights.
be the AR-15s, is that correct? Or the rifles?
Yes, sir.
That is the new rifle for patrol.
So it's a one-time charge?
Yes. Yeah, that's to acquire them, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
And then I had another question on item number 60205. It's the largest item in the vouchers regarding the paving over at on Lakeshore.
Lakeshore, okay.
Are we on schedule on that? Is that just a normal draw? Can you tell me if we're on track?
What's the draw on that one, just so we can look here? It's 200,000. Okay. That's a multi-funded project, but I'll let Ms. Coleman speak to that so I don't screw it up.
Can I get the question again, please?
Is it on track? Is that a normal draw? Is the project on track with the dollars?
Yes, the
Okay.
project is on track. It is not going over, and this particular one is a federal funded project. And so it is not only audited by ourselves, but by WashDOT as well. And
Okay.
so this is a normal draw, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Then I had one final question. In fact, I think I want to make it as a motion. I think I want to move to extract for further consideration item number 60233, which is the Minol payment. I'd like to just pull that out of the
Okay.
vouchers if we could, and so that we don't hold up the rest of the vouchers.
Okay.
But that one item, I think, needs further discussion.
Okay. Let me see here. I just want to make sure I get a number on it.
60233.
I already got that one. 20250-123. We'll just for 10,526.
64.
Okay. So is there a motion on the floor to approve all with the exception of 60233?
I'll do that motion, yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, is this pull it as not pay it or to?
Not pay it, to discuss it. Yes.
To discuss?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Do I not have a second?
Second,
Okay.
discussion.
All right, so motion on the floor by Councilmember Hall, seconded by Councilmember Burke, to approve all vouchers with the exception of 60233 in the amount of $10,526.64 to Minol. Further discussion.
Okay, the reason I centered on that one is, if I looked at this as, if this is my budget at home, and I hire somebody to do a job, and they don't do the job, or they do it halfway, or they do it inappropriately, I'm not writing the check. We're going to sit down and talk about it, and we're going to find out what we have to do to get the proper action. We've heard from other people just this evening that some of those issues have gone on for months. I know personally, I've seen it go on for 5 months since I made a request and have had no response. So I just know that it's out there in the community. Lots of people are not getting answers to their questions. The company is not responsive. They don't answer their phone. They don't call you back. It's a problem. And I've found, just personally, the best way to get some action is write the check. So I think we either don't pay the voucher at face amount, or we make some adjustments in it, or we delay the timing of it until we get some action. So I want to see, I know that there are meetings going on an ongoing basis, trying to resolve the issues. I think we need to get the resolution. So I think that's where we are on it. That's why I want to just hold it out for now until we can, there's probably a lot of solutions that we could do. But I don't know if now is the time to those, but I don't want to pay the bill. I guess that's the bottom line.
All right. Mr. Burke?
What happens, this for the attorney, what happens if we don't pay it?
There could be contractual consequences
Right.
because of that. Because if you don't pay and you have an obligation to pay, it could involve litigation. It may be one of those things that if the council has a discussion, maybe I could be part of it. I don't have any clear guidance to say, but I'd want to listen to, and I might be able to give a legal perspective before an action is taken, I would suggest.
That would be good.
That's all I have.
Further, sorry, go ahead, Mr. Burke.
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Further discussion? Mr. Smith?
I've never been one not to pay my bills, but I'm all for having a workshop to discuss Minol contract. I was never for Minol. I'm all for discussing Minol and whether we want to continue with them.
Mrs. Dowdy?
I guess because it's for January, I feel like we need to go ahead and pay this January one and maybe have a discussion for further bills before deciding not to pay.
I think that would be prudent. I mean, these issues have existed for a while, but it would be better probably to have that discussion before a decision is made. So I would agree with what you're suggesting.
Can we wait a week or to pay it and see what further discussions come out or what kind of progress we make?
And the answer is, I don't know off the top of my head because I don't have the contract before me.
We don't meet for 2 more weeks, right? So-
Correct. Our next meeting will be the first Monday in March.
Or another possibility is to have a portion of the council, so it wouldn't be, I mean, you could have that discussion if you wanted to. Probably any decision would need to be public, but if a smaller group wants to take a stab at it and try and get arms around it, that might be one way of moving forward. It may not be a good idea, but I'm just speaking out loud.
Mr. Smith?
I'm all for having a workshop to have Minol present to answer questions and put them on notice that we're not happy with what's happening and start looking towards whether they're violating the contract. I don't think we need to violate the contract. I think we need to look to see if they're violating the contract.
Wouldn't you want to have a discussion sort of in-house before we had a discussion with them?
We could do that too, yeah.
I'm all for, what the council does, but we should do this deliberately because it is large amounts of money. It is contractual obligations. And so I certainly will make myself available.
I would like to make sure that they're violating the contract first before we try to violate our contract.
Right. And also, it's a contract, so there may be ways to legitimately express the displeasure, but we need to take a look at it and read it carefully. And we may wish to have conversations before we take legal action. But, I mean, I've been listening to the complaints for a while, so I think this is well within your purview to consider it. We just need to figure this out and take a look at the law without them looking over our shoulder or make decisions without looking at the legal possible consequences.
Thank you.
And Mr. Burke?
Yeah, what is the due date on it?
I don't
I
know.
have a little time. There's a due date on it.
30 days. If it's January's bill.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It was billed February, so if we got to the end of the month to pay it.
Well, what I remember of why we have finance committee meetings when we do is because of the due dates of when these need to be paid. And so my assumption is that they need to be paid right now. They used to have it backwards, so the bills were always, they were late because of the date of when we were approving things.
Okay. Motion on the floor is to approve the vouchers with the exception of 60233, but I'm hearing a consensus that a workshop is needed, but the attorney is advising council to have a conversation before that workshop occurs.
So we are paying the rest of the bills, right?
That's the motion on the floor,
Yeah.
with the exception of this one. Further discussion on the motion on the floor.
Or we can make a motion to include that in for now during this one.
Somebody needs
So
to amend the original motion. I've got the meeting, Mr. Burke, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion on the floor to include the Minol bill.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, amendment on the floor by Councilmember Smith, second by Councilmember Dowdy, to include item 60233. Councilmember Smith.
I think we've discussed it enough.
Councilmember Dowdy.
I agree. I think we need to include this until we have further discussion and still put mine on notice.
Further discussion?
I'll yield to council on that we should go ahead and include it. So.
All right, anything further?
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, so if it's an affirmative vote, it's to pay all outstanding vouchers?
To include this, and then we'll go into a final vote to pay
Okay,
all.
okay.
Mrs. Hogan, please take the roll on the amendment to include 60233 voucher in the amount of $10,526.64 to Minol.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
The amendment has been approved. Moving back to the original amendment, or I'm sorry, the original motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Burke to pay the vouchers. Mr. Hall,
Aye.
anything further?
No.
Okay. Mr. Burke,
No. No.
further discussion on the vouchers? Seeing none, Mrs. Hogan, please take the roll to pay all vouchers at this point.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall.
Aye.
The ayes have it. That has passed. Moving on to action item C, resolution number 761, adoption of the Cowlitz County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Motion to approve resolution number 761, adoption of the Cowlitz County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Dowdy, seconded by Councilmember Burke. Councilmember Dowdy.
I think it's something that we need to have so that we can get FEMA to include us.
Councilmember Burke.
I think it's a good idea to do it.
Further discussion?
I would just add that this has really broad-based support across all of Cowlitz County. When you look, there's a whole page of different groups and agencies, cities, and whatever, that are on board with this. So I think it's pretty much joining a good cause that's been already pretty well thought through. So we're kind of on the tail end of it, it looks to me like. So I think there's been a lot of due diligence, and I would support it.
Seeing nothing else, Ms. Hogan, please take the roll on action item C, resolution number 761, adoption of the Cowlitz County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to action item D, TIB grant acceptance, Woodland Relight Program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Burke, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Burke.
It's gonna save us a lot of money and we get a grant. Do it.
Mr. Smith.
I do this type of work every day at my job, and it is a good thing. The amount of money it saves and the direction the city is going is far cheaper than the place that I work to do some of the work that they have done. They have a much bigger budget, but I think Tracy does a great job in the Public Works Department. I think it's a good thing as a whole.
Further discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Hogan, please take the roll on action item D, TIB grant acceptance, Woodland Relight Program.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
The ayes have it. And we have no workshop this evening, and we've come to the end of our meeting.
Motion to adjourn. Motion to end.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, second by Councilmember Burke. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. The time is 8:09. Thank you, everyone.
I'm gonna have to pay attention. His name is similar to mine.
Paul.
Recording stopped.
Paul Hollanda.